Hello everybody, thank you for joining us today. We will be presenting an Adobe Premiere tutorial. Alright, let's go ahead and get started. Let's launch Premiere. Alright, so just real quick, Premiere is a video editing program. So you can go ahead and edit video footage, audio footage, you can import photographs, graphics, all of that to complete your video project. The home page is now launched, and here what we can do is we can either open up a new project, which is what we're going to do. Let's go ahead and start the new project by clicking New Project. Alright, so here we're going to go ahead and want to name a project. So let's go ahead and name this. Alright, the next thing I want to do is make sure I know where this is going to be located. So I'm going to click on Browse. Let's go find it. Double click. Okay, so I like to set up a file system, be as organized as possible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and set up a new folder for this, and I'm going to call it Working Files. And that way I know that that's where this project will be. So we go ahead and click on it and hit Select Folder. Here we can display the video format, the audio format, capture. For our purposes, we want to go ahead and just click OK. Alright, so we can go ahead and get started. What this is the Workspace. And up here you can choose from different workspaces, learning. It'll give you tutorials that you can do, assembly, editing. Okay, if that goes away, you come back and click on all panels and everything will show up. So if you want to do any color editing, effects, add any effects to your project, you need to make any edits to your audio, so on and so forth. So for right now, let's go ahead and go to edit, or editing, I mean. So what we want to do now is go ahead and import our assets. So we're going to go up to File, Imports, and I want to go ahead and import my audio, my footage for the tutorial, and graphics. So what we want to do is go ahead and we can double click to make sure there are assets in there. So this is an audio file. We can either click on the file and open, or we can import the folder. The reason I like to import the folders is because it keeps everything organized. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll come back after I've imported everything. That way you guys don't need to watch me do this process. Okay, so we are back now. Let's go ahead, now that we've imported our files or assets into Premiere. So if you toggle on the arrow, you will see your file there. Let's go ahead and toggle on the next folder. This is the footage. Now I have subcategorized my folders. I like to have, I like to know where specific footage is at. Again, it just makes the process easier to work with. You know where to find whatever you're looking for, whether it's a graphic, whether it's actual video or audio. Alright, so the next thing I want to talk about is the sequences. So there are no sequences. All I've done is imported assets into the project, but now let's go ahead and we can set up a sequence. And a sequence is, what that is, it's just independent pieces of video that you create to combine photos, videos, graphics, logos, audio. So everything we've imported, we're going to piece together. That becomes a sequence. We'll go ahead and select the footage, and all we're going to do is click and drag. Okay, so we have dropped the footage in here, and now we have a sequence. This icon here shows that we've got a sequence going, and we can go ahead and drop additional footage. in here and start working on our edits. Okay, so you do this when you know that the footage settings will match your final video settings. So this is it's an easy drag and drop, and you don't have to worry about any additional settings. So what I want to show you next is if you double click on footage in the project panel, your footage will appear on your source panel and you can view your footage. It's nice to do that so that you can speed up the process. Alright, so I'm going to scrub through, and it looks like I want to go ahead and import this part of the footage. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set an endpoint by clicking on this bracket, and I'm going to go ahead and scrub, and I just want to import this part of the footage, so I'm going to set an out point. Alright, so what I want to do now is go ahead and drop that onto the timeline. Okay, so now I've shown you two ways of dropping footage into the timeline. You can either set in points and out points, or you can drop your footage directly. So another thing I want to talk about quickly, now that we have clips in here, I want to show you that your audio and video do get dropped in together. And what I mean by that is that they're linked. So if there's any edits that you want to do and you want to unlink them, you want to cut part of your audio from your video, you can do that very easily. The way we do that is we click on the clip, we go up to unlink, and if you see, only your video clip is now highlighted. If we want to go ahead and do an edit to the audio, we click on the audio clip and we can make that edit. I also want to show you real quick, let me go to the graphics, and we're going to drop in a graphic on the timeline. Alright, so if you notice, our video clips and our audio clips are solid blocks, and the video clips are going to be in blue, the graphics are going to be in pink. So that helps differentiate between your video and audio clips. Your video clips are on what are called tracks. So I set the first video clip on track 1, and I've set the graphic on video track 2. You want to go ahead and understand that as you layer your assets, Premiere shows in sequence of top to bottom. So whatever is on the topmost track is what you're going to see in as your timeline is shown. Let me show you what I mean. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and play that for you. Okay, so you can see that the graphic that I put in here, one is bigger than my frame, so I'll make that adjustment in a minute, but I want to show you that that graphic is on top of my footage. Let's drop that in, and so you can see that your audio tracks are in blocks of blue and green, and so that helps you differentiate between the audio that came with your video footage and any audio that you're importing. Another thing I want to mention real quick, so the audio files, just as the video files, if you double click on your file in the project panel, it will be visible in your source panel, and you can do the exact same thing. You can hit the playhead and it will play. You can stop it. You can scrub through to find a specific point on that clip, and you can go ahead and make those edits specifically that you need. You can also do in points and out points and drop that track in. So what we do is we go ahead and grab that clip, and there's what we just chose, our in and out points. I'm going to go ahead and slide that. And so this is the same track that I imported. It's just a piece of the original track. All right. I want to show you a couple things before we do the tools. So the graphic that I imported is definitely too big for our needs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to go ahead and correct that. What we're going to do is we're going to double click on that graphic, and now it appears on our source panel. From here, we want to go to the effects control, and this will open up a whole bunch of settings that we can make adjustments to. Let me go ahead and show you how we change the size. So you can click on the percentage, and you can either scrub to the right or to the left, and that will adjust your size. You can double click on the percentage and enter in specifically what percentage you want. So let's say I want 15. Okay, so that's changed. You can toggle down on the arrow, and you can click and drag. So there's 3 different ways of making adjustments to these settings. If we want to rotate, we can click and drag, and on the clock we can spin the handle, and that'll rotate our asset. We can also scrub through the degrees. Let's go down to opacity. It's at 100%. We want to dim that transparency, so we can either do it slowly, we can scrub through, we can click on it and choose a specific percentage of opacity. So that's at 45. So those are ways that you can edit your graphics. You can do the same thing with your video clips. So I've double clicked on the clip. Let's go to the source panel and effects, and let's go ahead and change the opacity of this clip. So as you can see, you can do that to any of your visual content that you have on your timeline. I'm going to go ahead and just put that back at 100%. When you start Premiere, the selection tool is activated. That's what allows you to move clips up and down on your tracks or side to side. You can also begin simple edits. So if you notice, I've moved the selection tool to the edge of my first clip, and my arrow has now turned into a red arrow with like brackets on it. So depending on this particular clip is opened all the way, so I want to go ahead and maybe reduce some of it. So I'm going to click and drag to the left, and now I have shortened just that video clip. If you remember, I have unlinked the video and audio. So I'm going to undo this, so Control C, and what I want to do is I want to relink both the audio and video. So I'm going to click on both of them, and I'm going to right click. I'm going to go back up to link, and now they're linked back together. So let's go ahead and I'll show you again. So I've moved to the right. I want to start my starting point here versus where it had originally been. So slide to the right, and it's much smaller. Slide to the left, and all right, so we can see this footage and the edit. I'm going to press the space bar I'm going to press the space bar and you'll see the edit that I've done. The next tool that is here is the track selection forward tool, and let's go ahead and see what that does. Okay, so as you saw, what it did was it selected all the assets that are on the timeline and it has moved everything forward. Now, if you notice on the toolbar, there's a small triangle here. So that signifies that there's more tools with this particular tool. So you click and hold, and in fact, there are more tools. The track selection backward tool is here. Track selection backwards tool works is exactly as the forward, just the opposite direction. So if we click at the end of a timeline, now you see it has selected all the assets, all the clips that are here, and we can move everything forward at the same time. Let's go ahead and deselect. So we will, with our selection tool, just click anywhere on the timeline and deselects everything. So, and I believe this is the same, and we'll go ahead and test this out. Click on the track selection forward tool. Now, when I originally clicked on it, I clicked at the, I would say the front of the timeline, and what it did was it selected everything. So you see it's selected everything, and we can move everything at once. What I want to show you is if I have the, if I do the same thing, but click further down on the timeline, it only selects from the clips that, from that part of the timeline, and moves those clips forward. So it's handy to know that you can use this tool to help you edit much faster, and this does work both with the track selection forward and backward tool. Alright, so I'm going to deselect everything and I'm going to undo, and let's go ahead and use the ripple delete tool now. If I click on the end of this clip and I drag to the left, it shortens my clip, and it also brings the clips that are further on the timeline forward. Alright, so we're going to grab the rolling edit tool. I'm going to position it between these two clips, and what it's going to do, now we have moved our in points from this first clip, and we have moved our out points from this clip and our in points from the second clip. And this tool works really well when you're making just slight adjustments to your clips. You don't want to go in and use the selection tool to just trim it a little bit. You use this tool to trim between your clips, and ever so slightly. So let's say right here I want to come in and I want to start right there versus the previous endpoint that I had. Okay. The rate stretch tool. All right, so let's go ahead and show you what the rate stretch tool does. All right. Okay, so what it does, it stretches your clip. Either way, let's go ahead and play that clip. And so what it does, it speeds up or slows down your clip. Our next tool is the razor tool, which I actually already used on the previous section. So you click on anywhere on your clip, and it clips both your video and your audio. If you want to clip, for example, all of your tracks, what you do is you click shift, and now you see how the razor has elongated, and it will clip through all of your assets. Let's go on to the next tool. So our next tool is called the slip tool. So the slip tool, the purpose of the slip tool is to let you simultaneously change the in and out points of your clip within your timeline. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and move on to the next tool, which is the slide tool. And in this, with this tool, you do have to have 3 tracks. So I've got 1, 2, 3 tracks side by side. Tool. Okay, so as you can see, the first clip elongated. So it became so it elongated. So what has happened is you have a new out point for your first clip, and your middle clip stays the same. Let's see what it does on the last clip. Okay, so if we use this slide tool, okay, so if we use a slide tool on the third clip, what it's doing is it's dragging your third clip and shortening your middle clip. So this will be a tool you'll need when you have, again, pretty close edits to do, but you do need 3 clips to go ahead and make those changes. Let's see what the pen tool does. Okay, so the pen tool, you can simply click on any point in your clip and add a wide number of attributes, including your opacity, your scale, your position, even the volume for audio clips. If you hold down the Alt key while using the pen tool, you can also add Bezier curves to your keyframes. So let's see what this does. Let's open up this track. So you open up the track by coming over to the side and clicking on that line. Go ahead, click and drag. And let's see, the pen tool is already selected. What it does by clicking on it, it brings up the source monitor up, so you can change the attributes again. So your scale, your position, the rotation, the anchor point, and the anchor point you can see right here at the center. So you can actually click and drag and move your anchor point. You can add different effects. Your opacity is here. Let's see, same thing. Okay. And let's look at the audio track. Okay, so yes, in fact, the pen tool, you can add keyframes to the track, and you can go ahead and make those adjustments there. And if you right click on a keyframe, you can go ahead and make adjustments to your keyframes here. The linear Bezier, audio Bezier, continuous Bezier, hold your in and out, ease in and ease out, and you can delete your keyframes as well. So that's that is how the pen tool is used. Let's go ahead and click on that. That is the hand tool, and so the hand tool allows you to move your image while you're zoomed in more than 100% or part of the image to view out. Let's go ahead and select the hand. Okay, so with the hand you can move right or left on your timeline. Let's now check out the text tool. Alright, let's click on let's click on a clip, and we want to go ahead and add some text. So find the spot that you want to add text. So here is where you would add either a title or a banner if you wanted to make some text for that. So we can name the equipment. I do want to show you a couple other things on the track and the timeline. So for each track, there are other options that you can use. If we click on the eye, we can now make this track, this complete track, invisible. We can lock it, and so if you have more footage or more assets, you can make edits to that while not making any changes to this track. You can do that both on the audio and audio track as well. So if you have multiple audio tracks and you just want to hear one particular track, you can mute your track and just listen to the audio track that you do want to hear. If you hit the S, that's solo, so that should shut the rest of the tracks, the rest of the audio tracks, and only play the one that you've selected. Okay, so if we wanted to add another track to this project, what we would do is click anywhere on this part of the timeline. We do a right click, and then we can add additional tracks to our project. So as you can see, now we have a fifth track, and we can add more footage or whatever visual content you need to put in there. You can also delete tracks. So you can also delete tracks, and it's the exact same way. Click on this side of the timeline, do a right click, and you can delete tracks. And so it's going to ask you if you want to delete track, if you want to delete the video track or an audio track, and you can select through this list. You'll see that depending on how much footage you have or how extensive this project is, you will definitely need to know how to do that. All right, so let's go ahead and save this project. We did save it at the beginning of this tutorial, so we should have a folder already with the name of this file. So what we will do is we'll go up to File and Save As, and click on our main project. So here is the folder we want to save this project to, which is the Working Files folder. There's already a file with the name that we want. We want to go ahead and save this. We can either save this file as is, as it's already named, or we can name it something new. If we choose to name it something new, go ahead and highlight it, click and drag, delete that name, and change it. Change the name. Okay, and we will click Save. And so just to show you, we'll go ahead. We should have two files here. So let's go back to File, Save As, and now we have two identical files with different names. So that is how you save. We can, because I clicked on Save and it already has a file with that name, it's asking me, do I want to save because there's already an existing file? Yes, I want to go ahead and save. Oh, we're ready to export this file. All right, so we are going to go up to File and Export. We're going to go over to Media, and we're ready to export this file. So what we want to do is we want we want to make sure that we select the correct format. For our purposes, we want to go ahead and export it H.264. We want to go ahead and make sure that our preset is selected properly as well. So I want to go ahead and export this to YouTube. So I'm going to go ahead and go down to YouTube and select the correct settings for that, which are YouTube 1080p Full HD. I'm going to go to the output name and change that. Let's make sure we find the correct location first of where this file is going to be stored, and I have. So now here I'm going to make a new folder, and I'm going to call it rendered files. You can name it whatever you want so that you know that that's where your files are at. Double click. Here I'm going to name the file, and I'm going to name it final tutorial. Click OK. Now coming down to the next settings, I want to go ahead and 1920 by 1080 is what I want to keep. And the only other thing I want to check off here is the render at maximum depth. I'm going to scroll down, and I'm also going to check off our maximum render quality. And then I will click on the export button, and this should export in a matter of minutes. Our file really isn't big, so it shouldn't take that long to do the encoding. Now, that's not going to be the case for every project that you do, because it will depend on the length of your clip and how much editing you've done, how many assets you've imported into your project. So take in mind that it really depends on how large your file is, how long it will take to export. So our file here looks like it's going to be about 2 minutes. I'm not going to make you wait the whole 2 minutes. So as soon as it's done, I'll come back. Okay, I am back. So we did get a message that our file has exported successfully, and I'm going to go ahead and close this window, and I'm going to go to my folder to show you that it actually has been rendered out. So again, rendered files, and there it is. It's named what I named it. I can double click on it, and it should play. There we go. We do want to view our rendered files to make sure that we haven't missed anything before we send it off to the next person who's going to view this file, or before we upload it to any of our social media or wherever it is that we're going to post this video. So that is about it for this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it, and I just want to thank you for spending your time with me. Thank you so much, and see you soon.